Test out one of these little vertical streams. Thanks for the morning. All that stuff. Figured I'd at least, do this for a little coffee stream and all that. All that good stuff. Oh my goodness. I kind of see how some of this works out here. See what some of these settings look like. Top chat, left chat, yeah, like that. And ooh, the filters. Forgot about those. Those are always fun. But those can. Hey, no, fuck off. There we go. What's this? Highlight, save to channel as like what? This, huh? At least 1 minute. Oh, so it's like some highlight thing. Huh? Interesting. That is interesting. Some different little settings on the main YouTube side of things I haven't noticed, but okay. Peculiar. Well, man, I kind of wish I was able to have a little background music or something. I don't think I have a way to do that. I should do this at least. I think there's a way to do that here. Okay, I guess I can. I'll just have to disconnect for a second and come back. Okay, that works. All right, then. Well, wait, could I still be able to do it via here? I guess not. Oh, fuck! Oh, shit. Fucking... stupid tray, really? I had to get caught on, fucking nothing. Really? Whatever. Yeah, whatever. My goodness. Put that there. Fucking prick. Really? Well, buddy, it's just oh, I always pop in on, vertical streams when it comes to Instagram and stuff like that, but oh no, I just don't do it on YouTube. It's fuck off and get in here. Quit giving off, stupid bullshit, excuses, bro. Dude, fucking weird, hypocritical bullshit, two-faced shit like that really drives me nuts. Where it's just oh yeah, I'm totally fine joining you with this stuff. Oh, never mind. No, I actually don't. It's yeah, no, quit fucking lying. Quit being a fucking weasel. I hate when people are weaselly. It's I'd rather people just be blunt and fucking honest with shit instead of this weird weasel, two-faced bullshit. Where it's they'll say one thing and then just do a completely totally different thing, or just take advantage of different aspects about your own self about that. Or it's they recognize some aspects about your own self, willing to help out a friend, or borrow, willing to lend money, or something as long as it's paid back or some shit. But then these type of people want to take hardcore fucking advantage of that. It's just that shit really just irks me. Actually, I had another fucking friend hit me up out of nowhere, despite the fact that he still owes me a little bit of money anyway, being hey, I need a little help, can you give me some cash? I'm no. And besides, I'm fucking broke anyway. I splashed out and I have fucking nothing now for cash at all until Thursday, and I sure shit ain't gonna give you anything until you pay me back. And if that seems to be the issue, then just you might as well just hit me up when you got money for me, not the other way around. Because I'm not giving you more cash until I get like 190 whatever the fucking much he owes me. It's like no, not happening. Not gonna fucking happen. But it's just another element of kind of like weird two-faced shit that I don't like. It's certainly for me need to like just have like a lot more of his bluntness about it because it really drives me nuts. It gets fucking annoying. And I've already had like a few people earlier this week try to like ask me about like borrowing cash and shit, and I'm just like, dude, what the fuck? Why is it like the one time I have like a little vacation time, especially suddenly I'm getting like all these people want to like hey, can I borrow money? This and that. It's like no, go away. Damn it. It's exceptionally fucking ridiculous and really exceptionally fucking annoying. Cause like, how hard is it to just I don't know figure your own shit out without having to like use a crutch on somebody? Like that's the thing. It's like when someone recognizes like a little doormat they can use off someone, they like to go to that all the time, and it's annoying. It definitely drives me nuts. But this time I'm just like, I'm simply like, nope, not happening. Not doing that shit. Oh, Boppy. Hey, what's up, Stoner? Trying out the little vertical YouTube streams, for at least maybe in the mornings for coffee, shit, little coffee stream type of stuff. Gonna see how like the algorithm with the YouTube Shorts algorithm helps, if it does at all. Let's see a video. To be sure, but I don't think I'll be able to see it while I'm doing this right now. I'm not doing it via Streamlabs, so I don't have my screen share or anything like that. So I wouldn't be able to. I won't be able to like see anything. But if anything, I'll probably pause for a second before I pop back on while looking at it. Send you some Adderall in the mail. I'd prefer not to have Adderall just sent to me randomly. I'm pretty sure that'd be questionable. Be like, have a mailman be like, hey, what's this, huh? It's that Parkmania episode about the US. Yeah, I saw that about the healthcare system. Well, I didn't see it, but I did see like some stuff about that. I wanted to check that episode out. I assume it's like an episode off their season, newest season or something. It's definitely something I want to like look into because I've been kind of hearing a little bit of hoopla the last couple days about that, and I'm just like, awesome. I want to go check out that little episode. Didn't they have like a? Didn't they do a U.S. Healthcare episode before too? Like back, like oh shit, probably like what 10 years ago now. I know they did at least like do a little commentaries about like our fucking just system in general about things like that. I know they had like a huge one with the whole BP oil spill thing. That one was excellent. That was like a multi-parter. What's another good one? I mean, shit. They have had their ebbs and flows for sure, because there's been a few that they will kind of like do commentary on, but kind of hit and miss a little. But like when they do hit it though, they nail it out of the fucking park. No pun intended. But I'll definitely have to check it out. I might not have any time to see that episode this week, just because I'm gonna be fucking busy now with a little vacation over and all that shit. But I'll at least see if I could squeeze in a little chance for that. Some Mexican cartel guys, smugglers, got shit out of Native American reservation with tribal security. Is that a party episode, or is that just some random news? I mean, because if that's actually something that actually happened, I'd be like, God damn, whoa. So now the cartel's trying to fuck around with like indigenous people and the reservations and shit. Oh my god. When I was in a universal linguist department, we went around Native American reservations to document endangered languages. It's news. Oh shit. So that is something that went down. Fuck. So not only do they have to like deal with the poor conditions of the reservations, and now like some of these people have to deal with like cartels, harassing them and dealing with their shit. My lord, dude, that's ridiculous. I don't like. I don't. I wouldn't even understand why they would even like go after like I'm assuming that what would the shootout be about then? Like just like Native Americans like, hey, get the fuck out of here type of shit. And then they're like, no, we're not leaving. This happened for years now. The cartels going to reservations. I mean, to be honest, I'm sure it has been happening for a while. If anything, I'm sure it's been happening for a long time. But like to the point that like I've never heard about like full on shootouts and like shit like that going on. Like if it's starting to get to that point, then like either a lot of these cartels are, which I know is for certainly for true for at least a few of them, where they're getting so powerful to the point where they could just like bulldog around and no one could really do fuck all. And then for like a lot of these other ones, I don't know. Like it's not really something that I've kept like a lot of major tabs with, but whenever I do hear some news about it, I always do kind of find it a little fascinating and do a little personal dive into it when the shit does kind of pop off. Just because like it's something that honestly I think it really isn't as like of a big you know like problem as it really should be. And the only reason why is just because of this whole fucking war on drugs. Like America's policy when it comes to dealing with drugs, illegal or otherwise, is just ridiculous, and it's just kind of fucking broken. And it leads to a lot of the power vacuum and a growth of power to a lot of these cartels. And when they pretty much have a whole business dedicated to essentially reciprocating that fucking cycle, I mean, now you got like these whole big, criminal organizations and cartel syndicates that pretty much like can run chunks of a fucking country now. Well, it might as well be their own fucking country for all intents and purposes. So try police station, try to stop cartel because there's all kinds of overdoses. Well, I'm sure. If you ever go to a reservation to locals or experience hunters about Sasquatch, they'll tell you they're real, they're an animal, they're a dangerous animal. Yeah, I mean, especially with the whole overdose thing. I mean, I think honestly that's probably why these things are probably taking a shift because I mean I know Native Americans already have to deal with addictions, disappearances, deaths, suicide, overdoses. Like it's already bad enough as it is, and like, and I'm sure honestly, especially with a lot of maybe I would take a guess, probably a lot of younger people that are starting to kind of like take the reins of like their tribes a little bit, yeah, and shit. Like they probably have a different position about these things in comparison to in the past, where it's like we're done with the shit. We're sick of seeing our own people and not like brothers sisters slowly dying off and shit because of this garbage, which is totally understandable. And if anything, it's like like I mean, they don't really have much protections. Like not even the federal government's going to be able to, do anything about that. So they're pretty much on their fucking own. It's like when you got these fucking cartels, like starting to kind of like take pot shots at them, that's going to exacerbate into some real serious shit. Working as a mechanic on the Cherokee Reservation, Cherokee Town, North Carolina. Working as a mechanic for them, that'd be pretty cool. Speaking of like Native American type of stuff that get into, like this is a one powwow punk rock band that is local in Portland that I think you might like a little bit. called 1876, and I've actually got a chance to talk with them before a little bit in the punk scene around here, and they're really really cool dudes, and pretty much like if I remember, one of them is I think part of the Chinook from around here, while I think one of the other ones is part of a different tribe in the local region. But all of them have pretty much been like longtime friends, in the local, it's not just the punk scene, but also within their own community too. And just and because of the commonality with the music, they're all like, you know what? Why don't we just start a fucking band? Because because they all play instruments, so they just said fuck it and started a band. I think they only been around for I'd say like 2 years. Like a lot of these newer punk bands, at least in Portland, have been around for only about like a year or two, give or take, and have pretty much kind of been like regrowing and revitalizing a lot of the punk scene around here, which is really fucking awesome. Especially with like the diverse like themes of like different bands and stuff, like from like powwow punk rock to like like kind of like ska metal blends of like Latino metal punk ass kind of shit. It's dope. I live basically inside the limits of the reservation. Probably takes up most of the surrounding towns. Cherokee Reservation, North Carolina is one of the nicer reservations as far as standard of living poverty goes, but they're basically hillbillies. Well, so it sounds like they're still unfortunately kind of having to deal with impoverishment and shit, which is unfortunately kind of the sad truth about a lot of these reservations. They're pretty much like the equivalent of like trailer parks or little like redneck towns, basically. Not literally redneck towns and shit, but pretty much. I mean, they're like if you look at your stereotypical like hillbilly redneck trailer park. I mean, honestly, a lot of reservations do have a very similar look to them, which is fucked. I mean, they that shouldn't have to be the fucking case for just anybody, but especially for indigenous folk on their reservations. Hillbillies in terms of culture and how they speak. So just kind of like actual like kind of Americana style hillbillies, like Appalachian hillbilly. It's like straight up. So if I think of like a stereotypical Appalachian hillbilly, like a lot of them were pretty much that. Fucking wait a minute. There we go. I mean, I figured I'd at least be a little differentiated. I kind of want to honestly, eventually on my own time, kind of like learn a little bit more about peculiars of different like uh, regional cultures of like Native Americans, because I know around here there's a lot more kind of like a well, I don't know, like a slightly different mentality around it. I suppose I think it because like in a lot of cases, a lot of indigenous Native Americans around here are also at least in some part kind of like integrated already in society and don't live in reservations, but pretty much almost all of them that you talk to will have family that do live in reservations and do visit them regularly and shit like that. So it's like a lot of the younger youth and indigenous youth around here tend to try to seek opportunity going to places like in smaller towns like Portland, Selwood, or Estacade or some shit, and it really kind of an attempt to kind of like help out their own family and like their own people and shit, because there's at least around here there seems to be more of a opportunity to kind of like keep their own like kind of culture and their own people alive a little bit, so to speak, in a sense. I guess if that makes sense. And, while from what it seems like in places like in the Midwest or like in the East Coast side of things, it's different where there's fuck all for opportunity. So like in a lot of ways, it is like a legit slow die off. Like I mean, because I remember with like with no Dapple when that was going on, like before it really got big, like it was just basically like what like 50 people pretty much protesting, but at its peak it ended up being thousands of people just because people from literally all over the world showed up. But like at least initially, it was just basically the tribe and just on their own, and maybe like a few, activists in the local area that, was hearing their cause and shit. But once it really started to blow up, and especially when the cops started coming in and breaking up, the initial protesters, which was basically just a bunch of tribes people, like, that really, put a lot of attention on them. And good, but I mean, it just kind of, to me, showed a lot of, the differences of like, a lot of Native American struggle around, or just in the country in general. And, depending on where you are, it really is a little different. Not much I know, about it outside of, a couple peculiars, but beyond that, it's just like, there is certainly a difference depending on like what part of the country you're from. I know guys definitely Cherokee around here takes some interest in history and language, but he says he doesn't really make it a big part of his identity. He lives like anyone else. Well, sure, yeah. I mean, it's not like, like at the end of the day, I don't think it, necessarily has to be. I just think it's, shitty with like the treatment, that these people have gone through, over the generations and shit. And, I think, honestly, at the very least nowadays, I mean, we could, at least, just, actually uplift them and, actually like treat these reservations with some decent basic humanity and respect. It's like, because I mean, like I get the whole idea of like people that might larp the idea of like laying back and stuff and kind of get a little memey with it, but there is, I think, genuine merit to it, and I think a lot of it is, at least in a sense, of an advocacy of just like giving their humanity back a little bit and like actually upholding to the treaties that our government has done with these different tribes for all these from its existence of a country, and not abiding by it for all that time, but actually upholding that shit. I mean, so there's definitely things that can be done, but and done so, I think, in the right way. And I honestly feel like I think you've talked to a lot of people, because I have before around here, and a lot of them pretty much advocate the same thing. You definitely get like Twitter dorks, that will meme stupid shit like that, and honestly are just larpers and shit. But I won't let at least for me, I won't let them just like get in the way of shit like that. I don't want to kick people out. Well, yeah. I mean, because that's ridiculous. I mean, and honestly, at the end of the day, from my own anecdotal experience, and from talking to different people about this, like, it's never about that type of shit. It's just more about like actually, like granting more of like the basic respect and actually uplifting their lives and lifestyles, and at least the government taking at least some onus to at least preserve elements of the culture and stuff. Because I know there are like a lot of dead languages, and and a lot of history and lore and stuff that's pretty much only been passed down via word of mouth, from like the elders and shit. So I think another thing that could be done would is just preserve some of that, just document it. It's like have like a whole dictionary dedicated to like the Cherokee language or some shit, right? Like, and yeah, I know there actually are like some out there, but like especially for the more obscure ones that aren't as preserved or are just literally passed via word of mouth and stuff like that. I mean, why not? Especially for people in the future to study and learn about, or if they want to practice and speak. That's what we did in linguistics department. Yeah, and I think that type of shit's cool. So it's like, and if anything, still like kind of keeps a lot of the language alive and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean I think and I think that's one way to kind of like kind of give back to what it's been taken away for so long. So I mean, all in all, it's like I think it could at least help kind of bring some life back a little bit, to what has been kind of lost for so long. It's probably the most well documented Native American language after Nahuatl, Aztec, Mexicano language. Oh yeah, Nahuatl, dude, that shit is really cool. And also, there's a little bit of documentation about like the Mayan language as well. I forgot what that's exactly called, because when I was in Texas, not the last time, but uh, the time before that, when I was like back in fucking 2018, I'd say, or some shit. I went to the Ross Perot Museum and Science and Art Museum, and they had like a whole Mayan exhibit going on there, and they had like at least some kind of this general basic kind of example about like some of the Mayan language, and it is like really kind of cool, like how at least in a lot of broad elements of their language, is almost kind of like hieroglyphic like Egyptian like in a way, where it's like certain things like certain designs or like pictures or like different animals or this and that are supposed to like kind of represent meaning or language or say a certain thing when like put out in a certain way. It's really fascinating, kind of really cool shit. And it's not just like some basic little like hieroglyph thing. It's like legit detailed, like some real like really detailed little like designs and shit. And it's just like whoa, it is some really cool shit. Aztecs built many cities on the population. They were a fairly big civilization. The city is defined as having a large. Yeah. And what's even crazier is they built their fucking shit on a lake. Like they basically like started artificially putting islands in the middle of this gigantic lake and just built a city around it. Like I mean, learning about the history of Tenochtitlan is fucking wild. I mean, it's really cool shit just because of how they built it. Like the lore around it is like I think it was these two dudes. I forgot their names specifically. I forgot all the details, but the gist of it is like these two guys were given an omen about like where to establish a city and an empire for their tribe or the people or some shit, and they happen to go to this lake and they're like, well, let's think about this. And then they saw some other omen. I think it was like a raven or a crow or some shit. And like there was a bird that like flew from across the lake and shit. And they're like, you know what? This is spot. And I think there was like already a small little island in the center of it. So they're like, we're gonna start building it from the center of that. And so they started, and then eventually just built it from there. And it is legit wild, like over the years, like how much it's like from that little area grew, and became like this massive empire, legit for quite some time, and very sophisticated too. Granted, also kind of metal as fuck, as the kids like to say it, because they were doing crazy human sacrifices and shit too. But like I mean, nonetheless, they're still very sophisticated and and very intelligent and and like were able to build a very mass, crazy, cool thing in a way. And despite the limitations of like resources, shit, we're also pretty technologically sophisticated too. And have honestly probably had better swords and shit than most people during that time because they had obsidian. Like the like Jaguar warriors would have like these like obsidian based like swords, which almost kind of look like cricket bats, but just obsidian all along the edges of it. And you pretty much had to master that weapon in order to even really wield it well. Because one wrong move with that, and you accidentally nip yourself with that, you're going to get a gash. Like obsidian, like even a tiny little touch of it, just of it just being a rock, will fuck you up. It's not exactly something to mess around with. So far, there's only been a few native civilizations as built cities that we know of in USA, mainly in the Mississippian culture, which exists around 1500s. Yeah, that one doesn't really get talked about as much because I don't know too much about that. I'm aware of it, but I don't know too much about it. The Aztec Empire, they farmed all neighboring ethnic groups for slaves and sacrifices. Yeah, and had like some allies or tributaries in between that had like common enemies and stuff. Pretty much at that point, typical empire shit. Another really cool documented empire at the time was like the Incas, to an extent, because like how they were building cities and shit was not really like typical of like normal architecture, but was honestly probably like the most sophisticated yet at the same time. Because like despite not what if you look because if you look at places like Machu Picchu for example, you'll notice like a lot of their buildings kind of have all their rocks and set up and shit and kind of like sanded down a little bit, and they do have like a shape to it, but it's all like kind of like polygonal esque shape. There's no real pattern to it. They just find rocks that happen to like just fill a hole. They sand it down and shit to the point, and usually use a lot of that sanding to kind of like have a little snug in between all the rocks and stuff. And eventually, as they layer it over and over again, it like creates its seal and actually like ends up being really like tight and secure. So a lot of these buildings to this day are still up just on that virtue alone. Like a lot of their like thatched tops and like a lot of their roofs are gone for the most part. But if you go check a lot of these places out, like the buildings and a lot of these walls and architecture itself still stands pretty hardly to this day. They even got like fucking old ass bridges that like they constructed like 500 years ago that are still there. I probably wouldn't walk across them, but apparently you can. So, I mean, it's like, despite, not really, having a lot of like, you know, like mass, abilities for like very sophisticated tool making, they had enough, to, do a lot of really cool, sophisticated shit. And honestly, it just kind of shows that, the weird kind of like whitewashing of like, of like the Americas of, people here being, no, they're just primitive. It's like, no, not really. They're not just like primitive. Like, they had a lot of really interesting, sophisticated shit going on. And a lot of them, just really was just limited due to resources. Like they didn't really have access to like things like bronze, copper, iron, and what was pretty widespread around in places like in Mesopotamia and Europe and shit. So having like full on like bronze swords and shields and shit like that weren't really as not really a thing. At least nowhere near as much of a thing. Not as much known about it. They didn't have much written language, and Mississippians were ethnically cleansed by neighboring Aquilonians. Yeah. But at least when it comes to Incans, yeah, the main reason why not much is known is because they didn't really, like, their language was basically, like, knots and beads and, strings and shit. Like, they had a very intricate, language system. Because you couldn't exactly carry, stone tablets, and shit. You couldn't really do that. Paper and things like that weren't really, like they didn't really figure that out, or at least there wasn't really any tree or anything available for that to be, possible. And so what else did they have? Like some strings, beads, let's create a language around that. So, and it's, I think, from my understanding, one of the more sophisticated languages, and honestly, probably one of the more harder ones to understand, just because it's, I mean, it's not as simple as writing something down. The Inca language source still exists in the form of Quechua, which is widely spoken in Bolivia and Paraguay. Hmm, that's pretty cool. I'm noticing with this whole little YouTube vertical short, little format, I have been like kind of seeing little off and on bumping views and shit. So I can tell people are like scrolling through the shorts and we're like, huh, what's this guy talking about? And we'll sit around for a minute and we're like, interesting. And just kind of move along. But noticing that a little bit. Hmm. I think at the very least I'll just like have my little coffee streams here, and then I'm just wondering, where should I do the karaoke streams on Friday and Saturday? Should I do them over here, or should I do them on Instagram? Hmm. That I have yet to decide. Oh, here, do a little time check too. Oh. Got like another 30 minutes before work. That just means time's kind of going on slow today. Boo. Boo. Here. Fucking Venom. What a hoe. Still doesn't want to pop on here. I love how he's like, oh, I'll pop on to Instagram vertical streams, but not over here. Like, good lord, what a goober. Hold on. Gonna convince him. Oops. I was letting them know that at least on YouTube they also could do voice calls, just or like video calls, just like on Instagram. But you have to like turn it on before you do the stream. So I think next time, maybe I'll see if he wants to pop in that time for the next summer. When you see stuff person like the Coliseum, Acropolis, pyramids, Essex, you think, how do we do this? I can understand why a crazy person might think aliens. Yeah, I mean, I could definitely get that. I mean, to me, I mean, like, I just think, like, it just shows that, like, humanity hasn't really fundamentally changed too much, like, over the millennia and shit, or over the, few millennia. I mean, it's just that, like, our sophistication about, like, technology, society, culture. I mean, a lot of our, selves have definitely gotten more sophisticated over, over that time. But, when it comes to kind of the root, of it all, we haven't really, changed too much. Like, because we have, like, these abilities, to create these things. And we always have. Obviously, these things exist because of that, especially for as long as they have. And that just kind of, I mean, I could see, yeah, for sure why someone who's like aliens or wants to try to undermine it be like, well, I think, they were like savages or something, right? They were ancient peoples. How could they do that? It's like, well, because maybe they weren't really as savage as you think. Sure, granted, like when it comes to war, human sacrifice, slavery, and all this other shit, like, yeah, like, I mean, there's an element about human nature that is pretty savage. I mean, there's still a lot of that today, right? So like a lot of shit that was going on then, nowhere near to the same extent, but it's happening now too. Like genocide, slavery, utter oppression, like mass, killing civilians. Like all these things are still going on and shit. War and bloodshed, rape and pillaging, all these things. I mean, there is kind of an element of the human id that is like kind of a part of that it where that is a part of it. It's not like you can't temper it or control that, and at least make humanity better. Because obviously, we have been able to, to an extent. Because obviously we're not doing like blood eagles and shit anymore. You know what I mean? So we're obviously to an extent, like it's not like we aren't doing that, but shit. It's just like one of those processes of humanity. Basically, it's like yeah, we were hella sophisticated, but probably more fucked up back then. But at the same time, it's like we're way more sophisticated now, not as fucked up. It's just kind of the I think broadly the just part of the flow of humanity there. But all things considered, if it keeps tracking, I think we'll just continue to get better as a species over time. Hopefully, maybe I'm optimistic about that, but hey, one can dream, but I ain't the only one, right? Oh shit, I'm out of coffee. Fuck. No! Well, god damn it, that didn't really work. Ugh. And also, what makes it kind of even crazier is that, like, when we like do some archaeological dig site on some place and we find like some like 1,000-year-old wine that's still perfectly good and still totally okay, just preserved like the day it was just bottled up and shit. I'm not gonna lie, I would absolutely drink that. I'm not even kidding. I would drink from the ancient wine of our peoples, dude. The ancient wine of humanity, dude. I would absolutely do it. I'm not even kidding. I would totally, like drink from the fountain of youth. Oh, that's what I would call it. I don't even care if it gives me youth. It'd probably accelerate my age, if anything. But you know what? I will call it that. The liquid of the dark sarcophagus. It's like, bro, definitely want to try. Man, imagine being one of these archaeological digs, like guys, out there and shit. And you were the first one to discover that. Would you not like totally at least like maybe take a little sip, like grab like a little like sterilized little spoon, take a little, You know, like, because I would. I totally would. I'm not even going to lie. I kind of would. Like, because, yo, I mean, if I find, like, some ancient ass fucking wine and it's still perfectly all good and shit, dude, I totally am going to take a sip out of that. I mean, I want to go to the extent of the lengths, like, you know, those NASA interns who stole moon rocks and fucked on them. Which, that would be very uncomfortable, and I don't understand why they would try to fuck on moon rocks. I can understand having moon rocks maybe laid out upon themselves or something, but like stealing them and laying it on a bed and then fucking on the bed, like that's just one thing. That I don't even understand that. Like I want to go that far if anything, but like you know I would at least you know like grab a little you know wine glass and take from you know 1,000-year-old wine and drink it because that would be you know that would actually be some pretty good stuff. Because you gotta imagine, like, it's not gonna be like wine today, for one. It's gonna be totally, you know, kind of different. It's probably gonna be a lot more fruitier. And it's probably, see, I'm just hyping myself up. Because I imagine, honestly, realistically, it's probably gonna be the most repugnant fucking flavor in the world because of how old it is, but I don't give a fuck, dude. I'm gonna amp myself up for that shit. Because I wanna try it. I wanna try that shit. I imagine it's like fire as fuck, dude. If not, bruh. I don't even know, bruh. I wouldn't even know, bruh. All right. Do I have tea or something? I didn't. I did not bring my tea in here. Son of a bitch. Oh, I guess I'll go grab my tea. Curses. Oh my goodness. There we go. Man, I took a peek outside and ugh, the weather. It's gross. It's fucking raining. It's kind of cold. What the fuck? Boo. Why there be the rain? I was hoping it would just be kind of partially cloudy today, but I guess not. It's just rain. Nothing but rain. Oh boy, so exciting. You goob. You little gooba. What a silly little doggo. What a silly doggo. Oh, come here, puppy. And get this little pup. Oh, puppy, puppy, puppy. Come here, you little skin. Oh, you a pup. Oh, oh my goodness, it's a pup. Who's your little pup? Who's your little pup pup? Yes, you is. You's just a pup pup. Just a goofy little thing. He's just a goof. He's just a goof. Smooshy little face. Just a smoosh face. You just a goof. Oh, big ball. You rotund little ball. My goodness. Ugh. Meh. Ugh. You big goof. You big ragdoll, you. You're just a ragdoll. A silly little ragdoll with the smooshy little face. The smooshiest of faces. You goofy thing. Blah, 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 blah. He's like, I am not pleased by this. I am unamused. You big goof. Ooh. Alright, I'll let you down. There you go. Oh, what a goof. What a little goofball. Man, what to do about a little fluff ball like that with his little absurd shenanigans. My goodness. My goodness. Here. Let's see. Is there like maybe a little thing I could kind of look out for, like a news headline thing here from my notifications? Biden's merely a new plan to get young voters. Oh, oh my God. I'll probably have to watch that a little bit later, but that sounds like a fucking nightmare. I already know one of them. I know it's not technically something that Biden's campaign did, but there is one. Actually, it was meaning to put a pin on it at some point, to foreshadow it for another time, but you know what? I'm still going to save it. I'll save it for later tonight. I'm not even going to say what it is yet, but it is terribly bad. It's not something official from the Biden campaign, but I'm saying it is, as far as I'm concerned. Because, oof. I love how he's also trying to, like, how do you do, fellow kids, and, like, meme his way into trying to, like, persuade young voters, and also try to, like, get an official TikTok account, while also trying to ban TikTok. The irony of that. It's just like, like, I mean, you're trying to, like, sway the youth vote by, like, getting on the TikToks, but you want to ban the TikToks. It's like, make up your fucking mind, you old fart. Like, good lord. It just shows that there is no, like, consistency or, like, fucking any merit of, like, legitimacy when it comes to any of this bullshit. It's just ridiculous. Ay, ay, ay. Gotta love it. Well, not really, but gotta love to hate it. Yeah, that's right, Sukes. We just gotta eat the rich. It sounds like that while we're doing it, crunching on their bones. He just stops and he's looking up at me while I'm doing that. He's like, "Are you making fun of me?" It's like, "You're making fun of me, Dad." Oh my God. I think my dog is aware when I'm actually poking fun of him a little bit. I think he's aware when I poke fun at him, and I do find it kind of hilarious. Oh, God damn it. I was hoping maybe that pain would help, like, keep this jacket from folding over like that, but I guess not. Because this pin right here has helped, but I guess not this one. Yeah, whatever. Anyway. I got like 20 minutes to work, but you know what, fuck it. I'll at least get this last little boat cashed out for a little bit. Kind of get myself ready and see what other jacket I can... What the fuck is this? What the hell is this? What is that? What the... Okay. Anyway, I had no idea what the fuck that was, but I think at the very least, I get this last little bow smoked out. Then, get myself ready for work and figure out what jacket to fucking wear, because this rain is ridiculous and I don't want this getting soaked through and getting all wet. I don't like being wet. Yeah. But, anyway. let's call it good for now. And at least, we'll be back around for the next one. Not on a vertical, but at least, for my usual format. So, anyway, peace out and see y'all next one. So, doodaloo. Ba-doodaloo.